Vault Veritas SCP Files. Episode 56 Cenere. Incident Report 7068-60. 60th Incident Report involving SCP-7068, colloquially known as the Endless Art Gallery. Object Class: Safe. Risk Assessment Level: Low. Reported by Training and Development Specialist Dr. Fiona Keyes. Report made March 20th, 2003. This is a cruel joke. You ask me now, to explain what happened. You never cared about my lessons before. None of you did. I would stand at the front of a classroom and lecture, pouring everything I had into it. I tried to make it engaging, dynamic, something more than the mandatory, mind-numbing sessions you all treated like background noise. And still, every time, I would look up from my passionate teaching and see you scrolling through your phones, whispering in the back, staring glassy-eyed at the walls as if already lost to the sort of mimetic SCPs I was trying to protect you from. But now, when the story is no longer mine, now you want my words. Now you want me to teach you about the gallery. If I refuse, what happens? Termination? Demotion? I don't much care. I was just trying to be a good training specialist. I received an email from the anthropology department requesting a briefing. An overview on the broad impacts of SCP-affected artworks on human cognition and behavior. It sounded legitimate enough, professional enough. I agreed to present. To prepare my seminar on the socio-cultural effects of anomalous artwork, I was instructed to arrive at a designated location for what they described as a brief walkthrough and analysis of pieces that had been effectively neutralized. They even provided transportation. I had no reason to doubt them, no reason to suspect. I don't know how they lured in the others before me, and I can't tell you how they'll lure in the ones who will undoubtedly come next. But this was precise, tailored. They knew exactly what words would make me walk, willingly and unthinkingly, straight into SCP-7068. Frankly, that worries me more than the gallery itself. When I first entered, the strangeness was subtle. The internal dimensions were immediately inconsistent with the building's exterior. It stretched endlessly in all directions, a maze of sterile white corridors, lit by harsh, unbranded LED lamps like those used in museum displays. The walls were pristine, featureless except for assorted pieces of artwork, each isolated beneath its own halo of cold light. The layout defied logic. Corridors twisted without pattern. Some were cavernous, others oppressively narrow. It was liminal, dead. The kind of place you felt certain you had dreamed of before, but couldn't remember when. But even worse than that, the gallery shifted. Turn a corner, realize you are not where you thought you were, and when you turn back, the corridor you came from is gone. The door you entered through no longer exists. You were lost before you even realized you had strayed, and by then, it was already too late to go back. I didn't even look at the art for the first half hour. At first, I was scanning for another person, and then, frantically, for an exit. I sprinted through the corridors, desperately searching for anything, a window, a door, any sign of the outside world. When I finally ran out of breath the first time, I collapsed next to the first piece of artwork I really noticed. I even paused mid-panic just to admire it. A striking abstract painting of sharp, clean, black lines crisscrossing against a muted gray backdrop. Thick beams intersected with delicate, spiderweb-thin lines, forming a cage of intricate scaffolding. Each line varied in weight, and it seemed to almost shift subtly, as if the painting was rearranging itself every time I dared to blink. It was beautiful, but the sharp angles and endless paths echoed the corridors I was trapped in. The art mirrored my entrapment and jolted me back into flight. My second break found me slumped against a wall containing a page from someone's sketchbook. This one seemed to come from a series of obsessive studies. Faces staring out, their eyes too wide, too knowing. They stared right through me, angry, sad, laughing, and sorrowful. Their expressions caught my frantic desperation, absorbed it. I hated the sketches. I had to move on. But I was drained now, and the corridors slowed around me. Instead of racing past the artwork, I found myself pulled towards them, as if they were reaching out, trying to grab my attention as I passed. The maze of halls no longer blurred into one another. They expanded, yawning wider, each piece demanding attention, until I had no choice but to walk and to see. I passed a soft charcoal rendering of a loosely gathered bouquet, the delicate blooms trembling on slender stems above a heavy, textured vase. The lines were light, ephemeral, giving the piece a dreamlike quality, as if the flowers would flutter away if I dared to breathe in its direction. I passed a graphite landscape of a dense, sunless forest. Tall trees rose into the mist, their outlines sharp and hazy at once, their trunks curling inward like arms. Among them, faint figures lurked, glimpses of something old, something hidden. I passed someone's earnest, obsessive explorations of a childhood cartoon. Turtles' faces drawn again and again, smiling, grimacing, even fighting. A loving tribute sprawled across the page. Each piece thrummed with life, and each carried the weight of the hands that had made them, the hopes or dreams or fears pressed into paper or canvas. They were all named and dated, but offered no other information. There was no way to know what they had meant to their creators, or how they had ended up here, jumbled together in this endless, impossible place. And then, after what felt like a lifetime walking through this maze of dreams, fantasy, and memories, I rounded a corner and found a door. I had hoped for an exit. I had expected more corridors, more art. But what I actually found was a single massive room, each wall plastered in old whiteboards. For a moment, I didn't understand. I just walked by board after board, confused by the sudden change. Then, slowly, recognition seeped in. Lesson plans. Classes I had taught before joining the foundation. Trainings I had led for new hires. Safety lectures. Even my scattered notes from late-night preparation sessions. I could almost hear my own voice, fervent and hopeful, filling the room. I could almost hear the low murmur of the students responding, questioning, caring. There were no markers on any of the boards, only erasers. I walked the hallway of my own lessons, my own history. Here was lab safety. Here was incursion protocol. Here was corporate compliance. Each board brought its memories rushing back, vivid and clear, flashes of the better students leaning forward in interest, the rush of explaining something just right. At the far end of the room, jarringly out of place, a single spray-painted image marred the chalkboards. The logo, a tilted, questioning face, its mouth a dripping question mark. Beneath it, the stylized words, "Are we cool yet?" I understood then. I understood what they wanted. I understood where I was. And I understood what it would cost to leave. I stepped to the nearest board, picked up the eraser. My hand shook so hard I almost dropped it. The moment I pressed it to the surface, The memory it contained began to fray at the edges, slipping, unraveling. I moved to the next board. Another lesson, another memory, peeled away under the trembling sweep of my hand. A tear splashed onto my knuckles, unnoticed. And in that moment, unbidden, came the image of that first painting, the black architectural lines. I knew, somehow, that it had been drawn by an aspiring civil engineer. The last piece he made before being told to grow up, to abandon art for something useful. Why make an abstract piece like that when you could make functional floor plans? He never painted again. The next board, the next erasure, and the faces from the sketchbook flickered behind my eyes. A blossoming artist, crushed by endless factory shifts, drained dry until the act of picking up a pencil became unbearable. I wiped another lesson away. Another part of myself dulled into oblivion. As I erased an ethics training, the memory blurred, dissolved. Who had I taught? Where? The names and faces slipped away like smoke, and in their place loomed the soft bouquet, the last drawing a grieving soul made for the uncle who had once cheered their artistry on. The last time they ever lifted a piece of charcoal. This was no gallery. It was a graveyard. A place where love, passion, and dreams were buried. Not in anger, not even in despair, but in quiet exhaustion, societal pressures, and abandonment. And now, it would claim my offering too. As I wiped the last word from the last board, the final fragments of my love for teaching scattered, vanishing into the endless corridors of lost dreams. When I turned, the exit doors yawned open, wide, gaping, and inevitable. I took them. I did not look back. I don't know what effigy of mine rests in that place now. Maybe an empty whiteboard, smeared with the faint ghost of all the passion that used to live there. I don't know what I'll do next. Maybe I'll try to use some of the lessons I once taught. Maybe I'll try to become a researcher myself. But nothing seems interesting anymore. Nothing feels worth it. And I know that was the point. Auke's grand statement. They believe our clinicality, our relentless need to understand, strangles out the meaning of their art. They create to make us feel. And when we refuse, when we dissect instead of experience, they take what they can. Our creativity, our passions, our love, as a reminder, as a memorial to every artist who was told their work simply didn't matter. Whoever is doing this, they're not going to stop. Not until their message is truly, deeply, and lastingly felt.
You're doing the staring off into space thing again.
Sorry. I'm here.
And so am I. Knock, knock.
Hello, Niall.
I brought you something.
Flowers. Why?
Do I need a reason to spoil you?
Niall, what's your angle?
No angle. Just... I wanted to give you something. I love you, and I'm sorry for being so distant lately.
Well, thank you. I'll get a picture or something from the break room.
You really are miles away. Something on your mind, my friend?
A few things, yeah. I'm glad you're here. I've been meaning to ask you something.
Anything. Ask away.
It's not just memories of a dangerous anomaly that were taken from me. It's something bigger. I feel wrong, Niall. Since reading these reports, it's like I understand the anomalies. I feel what the people encountering them felt. When they lose something, it's like I lose it too. And it stays lost. Like someone's hollowing me out a little bit every time. I'm scared. I think something is really, really wrong with me.
It's all in your head, Scott. You've been working too hard. Maybe if you just took a break?
No, Niall. Please. I know you know something. You've been acting different since the raid. And then you come waltzing in with the not dear story right when I'm at my worst and suddenly I'm fine? No. You know something. Please.
Fine. We'll talk. Away from Merryweather. Give me a few minutes with him when he comes back. Go to the place I showed you before. Wait for me there. I'll tell you what I can. And do remember to cut this out of the recording. No need for Miranda, for anyone, to ever know.
Vault Veritas SCP Files is a podcast inspired by the SCP Foundation. Cenere is based on SCP-7068 by Kazuyuki Kazuki from the SCP Wiki located at scpwiki.com/SCP-7068. It is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 unported license. This episode featured Justin Gellner as Scott Anderson, Cody W. as Meriwether Parker, and D.R. Thompson as Niall Connors. It was written and edited by Leola Angel. We welcome comments. Please rate and review us. Email us at vaultveritas@gmail.com. Join our Discord channel using the link in the episode description. Or for additional content, visit our Patreon. Thanks for listening.